you, Barbara. We'll go to a question at the back.
Thank you, Robert. Ellie Melky. With respect to the independents, I'd like them to have a go at answering the question as well. But I understand there are 53, sorry, the question is to a member of the Labor Party and or as well as the Liberal Party. But again, I invite, if the Chair allows it, to the independents to see if they would support it. The question is, there are 53 youth services that are registered, currently receiving funding of some sort out of Alice Springs. I wonder if you would support or introduce an audit whether we need 53 youth services, given in comparison to Western Australia there aren't so many, and in South Australia. So I just wonder if all of that money that's going towards 53 youth services could be reviewed to see the viability of it.
Okay, the review of youth services and how that works. Yeah, we can start with Catherine. Was there
Thanks, Ellie. Yes, I'm aware of that figure, and I have looked at the services that are listed under that umbrella. Some of them are fairly generic services that offer children and family services as a part of a broader range of services. But you're right, there seems to be an excessive number of children and youth services in Alice Springs. I guess being in opposition, you never really know what's happening on the ground. You get a perception, you get feedback. I get a lot of phone calls from people who work within the Department of Children and Families who are feeling disgruntled or happy or whatever with what's going on. So that's how I know what's going on. I think there is a need for some rationalisation of the seemingly excessive number of youth services, but I guess at the end of the day, as long as they're doing what they're meant to do, and that is, from our perspective, keeping children off the street at night, engaging youth, giving them some sort of future, giving them options and opportunities that they may not normally be given, then that's okay. I don't think it's about a number, it's about a quality service and achieving the right outcomes. And I'm not sure that those outcomes are being achieved at present.
Thanks, Robert. Yeah.
All of those youth services, if you call them a brick, we have enough bricks, we just need stronger mortar. And if we can get those groups to work together, it's all about communication, all about just sharing that sense of duty, and it is, as Robert said, it's about helping to protect our young people. We need to work on the mortar, we need to work on the ways in which we work together so that they're not siloed operations, that they are actually sort of something that we can each share. I mean, I don't think necessarily an audit, but we really have to be able to just work those youth services together so that we end up with a much stronger, much more satisfying youth services provision of availability in Alice Springs.
Okay, thanks, Phil. Did you want to respond to that one, Ken? You can.
I believe the youth services play an important part in our town. Now, if we want to lower the amount of crimes that we have in the town, the youth services are there to help us do that. And also, I believe we do need a lot more youth diversion programs for night in particular, because that's when a lot of kids don't actually have anything to do, and a lot of the kids don't like going home or staying at home. So if we can have something for the kids to do at night, like the midnight basketball program that was on earlier on in the year, if we can get more programs like that up and running, I believe the crime levels in our town might lower.
Okay, thanks, Colin.
Very quickly, Ellie, I assume it's a question about resources and getting some efficiency and trying to ensure that the outcomes are best, however that money is spent. I think for sure, if we think we've got the system right, then goodness me, I think we need to have a good hard look at ourselves. We can always improve. We should have a really rigorous reporting process so that at the end of each term or each period, that outcomes can be assessed, and we can always treat it as a priority to fix. And I'd also like to take that philosophy on a broader level and think about it at a territory level. Look at all the institutions, the unique makeup of the systems and bureaucracies and the parliament that makes the territory what it is. We've had a system that's worked for so long. We've also got to think about how we can constantly improve that, and I think there's some change that could be taken from the same sort of perspective and applied more broadly across the territory as a whole.
All right, thanks, Ed. As the question was to everybody, Evelyn or Barbara, would you like to have a say on this?
No, I feel exactly that.
Yep. You can do that. Or maybe later, do you want to respond to that, we can send the mic up the other end.
You want me to have a go first?
Oh, if you want to, yes, sorry.
Look, one of our sort of policy points that we would like to sort of really introduce is that a kind of like a therapy service for our young people. And in that process, it actually teaches our young people trade or whatever, so they can then engage in economy, engage in participation. Because you look at it this way, guys, 27 years ago, we had the last lot of desert people walk out. But who actually taught these people? No one taught them anything. No one taught them how to hunt and gather in this world. So we want to be able to use these kind of services to be able to hunt and gather effectively, so we're actually contributing to the world. So look, guys, I'm bringing it back on a simple level. We can become effective hunt and gatherers as well in this modern economy. But we've got to be able to do it. And we're going to need your support to make that happen. So if you truly want a social change and go in a whole new direction, vote for us. We will certainly make that. Seriously.
Thanks, Ken. Somebody from later to respond to that.
Yeah, hi, Ellie, and thank you for the question. I agree there's a confusing array of youth services out there, but when one starts to look closer, what one sees is that they're really not all doing the same function. What Clontarf does is quite different to what Edward Rice is doing, is quite different to what the Youth Hub is doing, is very different to what the Youth Street Outreach services are doing. And I agree with Phil Walcott's comment that we have a lot of bricks and together it all goes together to make a structure. Youth are incredibly important. It's showing the future of the youth in this town. What I'm very pleased of is that under the current Henderson Labor government, these services are working together well. I don't know that there's 53. I suspect that could be a bit of a furphy, but I've seen you put that out on Twitter before, so I know it's a number you're quite attached to. But under the current Labor government, the services are working quite well. If you go down to the Youth Hub and have a chat to them there, all the different youth services are getting together regularly to make sure they're not doubling up on what they're doing and that kids aren't falling through the gaps, and that's incredibly important.
Deborah, I'll drop the information to you tomorrow. There are 53. No 50.
We'll just get the final one of this from Barbara at the end. And then we'll take our last question after that. Yep, we'll just get Barbara to respond. We'll take our last question, then, as I said, we'll go to the candidates.
Actually, I did a count for the Social Services Directorate. There's 54.
Thank you, Kate.
Okay.
There is the Township Hub, the Youth Hub here in Alice Springs, and I guess it's about how can all these organisations and children's services deal with one person's issue. Now, this person's issue is going to affect you and it's going to affect me in the long run. But how do we engage with this town as well as remote communities where, I'm sorry to say, our 3 MLAs that hold the seats in town, how are we and them are going to engage with MLAs out in remote communities, and especially with local government, either in this town or in a Shire Council. So we're going to have the influx of kids coming in, and I know for a fact that a lot of our kids do come from remote communities that are doing a lot of break-ins. I know that there are no diversion programs in the bush for our young men and young fellas that come into town, because they've also lost the education, gone out of the education system. So we need an alternative for these kids that are caught up in these age brackets, and we as Greens are willing to work with people in this town and with remote communities to address these issues. And, like I said, social inclusion as well as community engagement.